Hi guys, welcome to my show or my channel. This is Land Matters Kenya. Here we discuss everything that pertains to land matters. Today we have an advocate who is going to advise us legally if you want to go and purchase a property or invest in land. What are the legal measures that you can use? Karibu sana bwana wakili.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Perry. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yes.
My name is Julius Njuguna. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and I'm happy and privileged to come here and discuss a number of issues to do with land transactions.
Yes, thank you so much. And you know, a lot of Kenyans are struggling with investing in land because if they have identified an individual or a company, they don't know really how to go about it and especially protect themselves from con people or being, swindled of their money and all that. So we want today you advise us from a point of legal, whereby I can be able to protect myself if I'm buying land. So we want we want you to advise us on that, yeah? So the first question for you is, for example, if I am going to purchase a property or a land, I have identified it, I know the place, and it is from an individual or a company, what is the first step that I should take?
Yes. The first thing that you are supposed to do if you are an interested buyer is to identify the piece of land, the property which you want to buy. And you do what we call search. Search, there are two types of search. One is what we call the physical search. You go to that particular location, you see the property itself, you see who are the neighbors, you see everything to do with that, and even the size.
So you're saying I have to go to that place and look for myself, ask the neighbors how this property was acquired, who is the owner?
You can even ask around the neighbors whether they know who is the owner of this particular property. This is what we call, it is part of what we call the due diligence. Then once you are satisfied that the person that is selling, the intended vendor, we call them vendor, the seller is the owner of the property, or rather he is known that is the owner of the property, you go now to what we call the official search. Because you have just asked people who is the owner. They might not know whether this person sold the land a long time ago. So you have now to go to you have to escalate it and now go to the government and the Ministry of Land.
And Bwana Wakili, when you have gone to the physical search and maybe the neighbors have told you the owner, so it has to match the one you know selling.
To match.
So then now we can proceed to do the
although that is a bit tricky because that's just a preliminary search. Because like now in urban places, you might not necessarily know the neighbors. People don't know each other. People might not know who is the owner of this property. But it is just a part of the due diligence. Then from there now, you go to the government and do what we call the official search. You make an application at the Ministry of Land, and then the government is going to issue you with what you call the official search. From that search, you are going to see who is registered as the legal owner of that particular property. So now you have done you search at the ground, and secondly, you have done now the official search. Remember, once you do the official search, the government can be held liable if it turns out that that person who is registered is not the owner, because the government is supposed to have the authentic record of the owner of the property.
So when you're going to do the official search from the Lands Ministry, which are the documents that you should have?
You are supposed to attach the copy of the title deed and of course the ID number. Or rather the copy of ID. Of the owner.
Now, do this apply if you're buying land from a company or only from an individual?
When you are dealing with you are buying from an individual, you have to use the copy of title deed. Even when you are using from the company, you are buying from a company, you have to attach the copy of title deed. And of course, you attach the ID of the person who is doing the search. If I am the one who is making application, I will attach my ID. So the government will issue me with the search. And it will tell me who is the owner, registered owner of the property.
And I have had issues, Bwana Wakili, whereby a person was issued an ID card that was probably edited to fit the person they can see physically, who comes as the owner, but really, in the true sense, that one is not the owner. It's only that they know the owner, so they edit the information in the ID copy to fit the owner, who is allegedly the seller or the vendor. So how can one be able to verify and know truly this is the owner of the land? The ID copy I have is the physical person matches the ID copy.
Yes, that problem is there. There are some people who have fake IDs. What you can do is that you can search. Once you are given an ID by the vendor, you can go to the ministry, to the government department, the relevant government department.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it will be authenticated whether that ID or identity card is authentic or it is fake. It is easy to know.
Oh, right.
The problem we have is that many people don't do what we call due diligence. Yes. Actually, even searching whether that ID is authentic is part of the due diligence.
I think Kenyans are too lazy for that. And that is why maybe we have wakilis to do those things for us. Yes. So now you have done the search and it is okay. You have identified the physical and the ID person is the same. So if you're buying from an individual or even from the company, you have identified the directors are genuine and the company is legit. Now, what is the next step?
The first step, now you have satisfied yourself as to who is the owner of the property. Then now you have to move to the next stage of whereby if you are now satisfied with the property, you are satisfied with as the question as to who is the owner of the property. Now we go to the next step, which is now getting into contracts, getting into an agreement, having an agreement between the buyer and the seller. It varies with whether the person it is a legal person or a natural person. A natural person is a human being, the new human being. Then we have the legal person, who is the company. A company is a legal personality. Then we also have the self-help groups and other organizations. So it varies. Now, if you are buying a property from a legal or rather a natural person, you are going to ask a number of things. Number one, you have to ask the ID. You have to ask for the KRI pin, and you have also to ask for colored passport photo. If you are buying property from a company, you have to ask for a certificate of incorporation. You have to ask for KRA pin, or rather KRA, or rather CR12. CR12 is the document which indicates who are the shareholders and the directors of a company. Then you have also to ask for KRA pin of that company. Then you have to ask for the information or other documents of the directors. In most cases, you find the company have 3 directors. You have to ask for KRI pin for every director. You have to ask for passport photo for every director, and of course a copy of ID of the company for the directors of the company. If you are buying from a group, you have to ask for the registration certificate. There is a certificate that is issued to the group. Then you have to ask the information or other documents for the signatories or the management members of the company, the chairman, the secretary, and the treasurer. So once you have now those documents, you are good now to go into a legally binding agreement, which is also a contract. By the way, sale agreement basically is a contract. It's a contractual agreement that you are getting into.
And now, when getting into this agreement, is it very necessary to have an advocate who is there to witness or maybe to certify that this you are entering into an agreement with someone, so that maybe later, if maybe there emerges a legal, dispute, maybe they can be able to advise you well? Because I see in most of cases when our kids, people just do written letters. I've sold you this piece of land.
Kenyaji style.
Yes, Kenyaji style, and then it is done. And maybe there comes an issue. Maybe that individual had sold those the same piece of land to maybe 5 more people. And then maybe they are not able to. Is it binding? The written letter without an advocate, is it binding or what?
Let me start by saying this. that a sale agreement is a contract.
Yes.
And there are some elements that makes a contract binding. There is nothing wrong for two people to enter into an agreement without even an advocate and sign a contract. But the best thing for having an advocate to attest or execute, to assist in the execution of the agreement,
Yes.
is because the advocate will exercise what we call due diligence. And remember, if I'm an advocate, in a particular transaction, there is a particular professional responsibility that is placed on me. It is upon me to advise the parties. It is upon me to exercise due diligence on behalf of the parties, because that's why they have paid me. If you are the buyer and the seller, you have an advocate and have an advocate, our respective advocates are supposed to exercise due diligence, and there is a professional responsibility that is placed upon them. So if they don't exercise that due diligence, they will be held accountable for any mischief that is perpetrated upon either of the party. So it is very crucial and very important. It is not a must, but it is very, very important for you to have an advocate to execute the documents for you, or rather to preside over the transaction. It is very important.
So it is
sometimes people think it is expensive, but the amount of money that you use to correct the mistakes that were done in absence of advocate, it's far much more. Yes.
Yeah. Now we have entered into an agreement where, as you advised, we have had an advocate who was there to do our due diligence, to do everything for us, and now we have already entered into an agreement with the vendor, either a company or an individual or a self-help group, as you say. Now, what is the next step? Because now, from there, if everything is smooth, then I think now we should now go to payments. Now, how is that?
Yes. Now, in that sale agreement, which is basically a contract, of course, the first part of the agreement, it talks about the parties. Who is the buyer, who is the seller. Then from there, the second part of the agreement, it will describe the property. Where is this property located? What is the size of the property? Because it is very crucial for those details to go into the agreement. What is the size of the property? And all those kind of things.
Because that is important, because I've seen there are some titles or rather individuals who go to buy a particular piece of land. They are told, let's say it is an eighth, which is a 50 by 100 with particular hectares. But when the title comes out, it has less hectares. So at that point, I think it's very important.
It takes us back to the issue of due diligence. Did you ascertain the true and the correct size of the property? So once now we go to the second part of the agreement, we talk about the size of the land, who is the owner, do you desire to sell the property? Does the purchaser desire to buy the property? Because remember, in contract, people must agree. There has to be a meeting of minds that we have consented. There has to be consent. I cannot sell the property to you by force. I cannot sell to
it is a willing buyer, willing seller.
It is a willing buyer, willing seller. Then there is the next part of the agreement, which is about the consideration. The consideration is the amount of money that you are going to pay to buy that property. In law, we say consideration is something of monetary value. So it doesn't matter. I can have a property situated within CBD, and I decide to sell it to you, that property, 2,000. If we agree, it's good. It's a willing buyer, willing seller. It is something of monetary value. So what is important about the consideration is what we have agreed.
What we have agreed. And in most cases, which are extreme, there are people who go who do it professionally, and then they seek for a valuer. For example, if I'm the one who is selling the land, I want a valuer to come and tell me how much in maximum can I ask for this piece of property. And if I am the one who is buying, then I don't want to buy land that is overpriced. So I'll call a valuer who will come and tell me, whether this property you can buy it maximally this amount. But it is relative, because most of the times I find Kenyans just buying because we have agreed, which is okay.
Actually, you see, in a land transaction, there are people we call necessary intruders. Necessary intruders are people like valuers, even an advocate, the agents, the land agents, and all those people. They are people who help you to carry out this transaction in a successful manner.
Yeah.
So now, once we agree about the issue of consideration, we go to the part A to be a core part of the agreement. Under the Law Society of Kenya guidelines, you are supposed to pay 10% at the execution of the agreement. So if I'm buying a property at 1 million, 10% of 1 million is 100,000.
Yes.
You pay that, and you pay 10%, then you pay the balance within 90 days or 3 months. That is the standard. That is as per the Law Society of Kenya conditions of sale.
But again,
however, people can agree.
Yeah.
And in most cases, people always agree
on the
that,
timeline.
Yes, that you are going to pay 50% or I'm going to pay even the whole
Cash,
amount of money, or whole amount of consideration at once at the execution of agreement. But that is so we start from what the law says, then we go to what the parties can agree.
Yes. And now we have agreed. That is the like in the agreement we have agreed we're going to pay 50 and balance in 2 months or cash or whatever we have agreed on.
Yes.
Now, how are we supposed? Me as the buyer, how am I supposed now to transfer the money to the seller in a legal manner? Because I've seen people give accounts that do not match, in a legal manner, so that I do not then come back and face some, legal challenges that maybe could have avoided.
Yes. There is no any specific law which states how you are supposed to pay. You can pay in cash, you can pay through bank transfer, you can pay via M-Pesa, you can pay via RTGS. All those are available means and platforms through which you can pay consideration. However, we always advise the buyers to pay in through a platform which can be ascertained, because sometimes the deal gets sour, and therefore it is very good to pay through means or other platform which can be ascertained. If I pay you through bank transfer, it will be very easy for me to go and get statement and to track in case of any problem. But if I pay in cash, you can dispute.
So in short, you're supposed to have the proof of payment.
Yes, proof of payment is very proof of payment is very important.
Oh,
yes.
That is so much enlightening. And for today, we are going to close our discussion there, because we have identified everything that we need. The first initial step that you're supposed to take, first of all, identify the land that you want to buy for whatever purpose it is, be it for investment, that is speculation, be it you want to build your home, be it you want to do farming or whatever it is. Identify. Once you have identified from an individual or a company, then get the documents from that particular person or a company to verify, to do the due diligence. You said it is due diligence, right? And while doing due diligence, especially from an individual, make sure the ID matches the physical person. Go to the government offices, verify, right?
Asserting that this is the correct person.
It is the correct person, and then do an official search. After now you've done the physical search, do the official search. Then we go to now the agreement. How is it supposed to be done? You're supposed to have, it is advisable by yourself that you have an advocate who is involved in the agreement, so that they can be able to do the due diligence for you, and also to
do
guide
things
you
the right way, and will also be held accountable for whatever they do.
And accountable. Now we go to after everything is moved and the agreement is okay and the due diligence is done, then you're supposed to now go to pay.
This is something that an agreement cannot be fully done if it is not executed, if it is not signed.
If it is
the
not
agreement
signed
has to be signed
by both parties.
And witnessed by advocate. If there is an advocate who is in that transaction. In case of a transaction involving a company, it has to be sealed with a company seal and signed by the directors of the company. If it is individuals, the individuals will sign, the buyer and the seller will sign, and then the signatures will be witnessed by the advocate. And that agreement now will be binding agreement.
And finally, now when doing the payment, have proof of payment. Thank you so much. It has been so enlightening, our viewers. I know you have learned one thing or two to protect yourself when you're going to buy land. Don't just go and buy kienyeji, apana. You know now the steps that you're going to take. So we are not yet done. You haven't gotten anything yet. So we are at the point where you have now paid and you have proof of payment. So we want in the next video to tell you how now, what is the other steps that you're going to take until you get your title deed, and how do you know that you have the correct title deed, that you have not been given a fake one. I hope you have enjoyed. Like hapo chini, subscribe hapo chini. See you next time.